Hi, anxiety. Let's see. Gotta make sure all of the chats are up and running. Congratulations, ASMR Mans, on redeeming first. Hello, my new fishies. Hello, my sweet little fishies. Yes, Steph is using the customizable model. I am trying to figure out how to get the customized textures, and I'm doing that on my own. But I am trying my best to figure out how to use it. I hope you like it. Of course, I'm not going to be able to get it to look exactly like my 3D model. Hi, Pan. Hi, Ghost. Hi, Magus. Star Magus. Hello. It looks good. You like it? I'm glad you like it. I did spend a couple of hours on it, and I will spend a couple more hours on it. My hair will not look like this by the time that I'm done. When I'm done working on it, my bangs will be white and the rest of my hair will be blue as it's supposed to be. But until then, it's a work in progress. I'm glad you guys like it. Hi, Dap. Hi, Nook Boss. Hi, True Gamer. Black Dress. You guys want to see all of it? Here. Let me zoom out. Wow. I won't be showing my feet on stream. No, 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 no. I know better than that. I did want to see if I could fix the halo, because I feel like the halo is not where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be down a wee bit, you know? How are you? How are my sweet little fishies today? Have you been behaving? Have you been good since the last time I saw you? Let's see, it's Thursday, so I think I saw you. No, I didn't get to see you on Saturday, did I? I don't remember. No, I didn't, because I've been having a rough couple of days. Make sure you're drinking your water and eating your food, fishies, because even I struggle with that sometimes, and I am currently I'm currently in a struggle with finding something that I want to eat, which is kind of, it feels silly to talk about, but I wonder, does anybody else ever get that feeling where nothing that you have in the kitchen sounds good, nothing outside the kitchen sounds good, you don't have any kind of food craving, and you also, like, if you force yourself to eat something like soup or crackers, you're like, if I try to eat this entire thing, I'm gonna vomit. Do you guys get that? Or is it just me? Oh, I didn't want to get tiny. We'll go big again. We'll be big again. So I will be reading the book like this today. Hi, B-Dogs. Hi, Uni. No. Showing the top of the thighs. I don't know if you guys can see, I also have earrings on my ears. And that's a special detail that isn't on my model that I originally wanted in my design. Ah, getting fruit. I should do that. I should go to the store and I should get some fruit. I can't have apples and bananas anymore, but I guess I could get grapefruit and oranges. Also, peanut butter toast. Peanut butter toast is like a good happy medium if you still want to eat something. Oh, hi Rowan. If you still want to eat something, but you don't know what to eat, but at least peanut butter toast is both bread and peanut butter. I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter toast. So, Dova, thank you so much for the 15 stream streak. We are going to continue reading Drown the Stars, and where we left off is chapter 16, in which we are about to go to Wokmaw. And if you weren't here last time, Wokmaw is the place of which our main character survived war with her sister, and we also learned last chapter that how they survived was a complete accident. They were in a tunnel, the two of them, alone, and they were trying to get behind a door, and they thought, oh, let's do this and it'll explode the door panel so that we can unlock it and get through. Turns out, that connected to something that was like hundreds of meters in the air and destroyed everything within like a 200-mile radius or some shit like that. So they killed a lot of people completely by accident, and they were knighted for that. So that's why we are following Vaine as our main character. And her mentee, the prince, is now about 16, and he is going on his first campaign to Wokmaw. All because this little brat was so upset that his mentor wouldn't tell him what really happened on Wokmaw. And now they're going to Wokmaw, where nobody except Vaine and her sister have ever escaped before. Put a 1 in chat if you're ready to begin the chapter. Your head hurts? Oh, I'm sorry. I hope that I can help you get to sleep. You can't be in pain if you're unconscious. Benadryl helps with that too. Susana, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Let me also get started on the next puzzle. If you're interested in solving a puzzle with the community, you can go to the link in my profile and you can say puzzle. You can also say the word puzzle in Twitch chat. Kidnapping is illegal? What did I say? Did I tell somebody to kidnap? We're not. I'm not. Nobody's kidnapping here. I will be recording my narration, so I do ask that you give me a little bit of leeway, and a little bit of kindness goes a long way. As I am reading, I am going to make mistakes, and I'm going to feel bad about making those mistakes, and I'd appreciate if you didn't bully me for these mistakes. I will also not be able to address any of the gifts or any of the bits, any follows that come into chat. So as you see people come in and say hi and ask questions, do let them know that I am reading. I am reading a book called Drown the Stars, and if they want, more interaction or more commands or more information, they can check out my bio. Hi, Talbot. I hope you're having a wonderful day. It looks like Jap is ready, Pan is ready, Nuke Boss is ready, True Gamer is ready, Rizachan is ready. I don't think she got the joke. No, I am like moving a lot. My brain is moving a lot. 07 in chat. The next puzzle is up. Hi, Milo. Alright, the next puzzle is up. I am going to start recording. Chapter 16. 13 years and 3 months post Wokmaw. Maybe Vaine shouldn't have told Rakva anything, because he'd been drained of confidence like a punctured water skin. He'd been staring at the map in front of him for 20 minutes now, blinking perhaps twice in that time. "Are you ready, Your Highness?" Vaine asked, breaking the prolonged silence. "No." At least he was being honest. "We can call this off," Vaine said. "I'll find a way." "No!" Rakva snapped. "I wanted this. I asked for this. We're approaching the planet and it's too late to back out now." It was not too late. It wouldn't be too late until their feet hit the ground and blaster fire coated the air like living mist. But that moment was very rapidly approaching. "Whatever you do," Vaine said, "I'll be with you. I'll be with you." Rakva grimaced. "No, you won't." "What do you mean? I'm not going to leave you, Rakva. You know that." I'm calling in the rest of the captains and commanders," Rakva said. "I want to finalize our plans before we touch down." He pressed a button in the center of the table, and it sent out a forceful ripple that radiated through every drop of water in the ship. Tears. Vaine wanted to knock the kid unconscious and stuff him in a closet until this whole thing ended. All the officers responded to the call almost immediately. They filed into the chamber with stiff limbs and grim faces, every one of them looking worn and prepared to die. And prepared to die. The king came in last. He held a glass of something alcoholic in his hand, face slightly flushed. This was the one battle he needed to pay attention to. The one battle that actually needed his ruthlessness and expertise. And he'd decided to take the day off and leave a literal child in charge. "Take it away," the king shouted, hefting his glass into the air. Rakva swallowed, but nodded. "I just want to finalize everything before we touch down. Ziru, your forces will take the front left flank. Valon, your forces will fire from the middle and provide medical support. I'll be in the front, leading the charge." Vaine could have strangled him. He'd positioned himself in the front? "My fleet will be joining you, I assume?" "No," Rakva said, pointing at the symbol of a fleet at the very, very back of the battle. "You'll be here to make sure they don't flank us." "They won't," Vaine said. "The cliffs completely prevent—" "You will be here in the back to keep them from flanking us," Rakva said. "That is my final order, Admiral." "Do you approve of this plan, Your Majesty?" Vaine looked helplessly at the king. Surely he could see how stupid this was. Surely he'd reject it. "Looks great to me, son," the king said, words slightly slurred. "Me? I would have put the weeping butcher in the front. But if you've got some master plan..." "I do," Rakva said. Vaine knew he did not. "Then it has the all clear from me," the king said. "Cheers." He downed the rest of the beverage and threw the glass against the wall, where it cracked but did not shatter. "It's final, then," Rakva said. "We don't have any special stratagems besides holding ground and pushing forward. Our tech is limited, but our soldiers know how to use melee weapons for a reason. Are there any questions?" A few of the officers asked about preliminary things, like specific positioning and the timing of transports, but that was it. Rakva ended the meeting and sent everyone back to their troops. "Rakva," Vaine said as everyone else left the room. "What are you doing?" "My title is Crown Admiral," Rakva said, still leaning over the map. "You will address me as such." "I will address you as I please. I'm going to ask again. What are you doing? Why have you failed to protect your most important troops?" "I haven't," Rakva said. "You received your orders, Admiral. Now go." I'm not leaving until you tell me your secret magical master plan." "I said go!" Rakva yelled. If Vaine hadn't known him, he would have sounded terrifying, intimidating. But she saw him tremble. The kid was scared out of his mind. Rightly so. Vaine took a step forward instead of obeying him. He could pretend to be a scary superior officer all he wanted, but this was Rakva, and he knew better than to speak to her in that tone. "Kid," she said slowly, "my job is to protect you. I can't do that if you're at the front and I'm at the back." No, Admiral. Today, your job is to follow my orders. I'm the Crown Heir. I'm the commanding officer of this battle. I need to show everyone that I'm not just... His posture crumbled, and he buried his head in his hands. "I can't let other people die for my mistake, Vaine. Not if I can do something about it." "Then get away from the front lines." The sound of Iris's voice instilled an equal sense of relief and dread. Rakva snapped to attention, pretending like he hadn't been on the verge of a breakdown. Admiral Iris," Vaine said. "I didn't realize you were assigned to this mission. I wasn't, but the king is very easy to convince, especially right now. Iris approached the map and added her personal icon, sliding it to the front. My troops will take their place at the front. Our specialty is hand-to-hand combat. We'll be more defensible. You will move to the back and provide support, supplementing and replacing our fallen troops. But I need to lead. You need to be smart, Iris snapped. You're the crown heir. This is your first time in genuine combat. Do you really think you're going to survive the front lines of Wokmaw? Because you won't. Because you won't. If you take your original position, you throw the weight of the crown on Kellis's shoulders and send all your troops to die. That's not noble or brave. It's pathetic. So get a grip and do the right thing. Rakva swallowed, guilt flashing across his eyes. Now give the order, Iris said. We have work to do. As she stormed out of the room, Vaine grabbed her arm. Thank you, Vaine whispered. I don't know what's gotten into him lately. Iris snorted and fastened her helmet over her head. Blah, 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 blah. Iris snorted and fastened her helmet over her head, replacing her face with an oval of reflective material. Ugh, don't play dumb. He's just turning himself into a copy of you. Once they got into Wokmaw's orbit, they had 15 minutes before all tech stopped working as intended. Vaine pulled on her gloves, flexing her fingers inside the uncomfortable material. This was probably the first time she'd ever been completely armored up. The first time she'd seen real combat since Wokmaw. Admiral, we're approaching the atmosphere, the captain of the vessel said. Vaine forgot his name. She'd met him perhaps a week before. He'd been under her command for 4 years now. Deploy the dropship. Deploy the dropships in 6 and jump into the antiplane. Vaine tightened the strap around her wrists, making sure they were secure. Bringing the actual ship to the planet's surface would be throwing it away. It was a shame that they'd lose all the dropships, but it was a better sacrifice than the entire cruiser. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm in your ear. Yes, sir. The captain gave a crisp salute, bowing deeply. Vaine merely nodded in acknowledgement, checking her pockets to make sure they were filled with anything she might need: wire, an assortment of metal conductor plates, stem patches, and other various materials scooped out from a drawer of her workshop. They were useless. She knew that. But it felt comforting to have something at her disposal that she knew how to use. Vaine slid on her helmet, though it did nothing to hinder her vision. She couldn't help but feel claustrophobic as it swallowed her entire face. She ignored it and headed to the nearest dropship, grabbing a handheld blaster and a trident on the way. She caught a glimpse of herself in the reflection of the carpet and nearly shuddered. Every inch of her was covered in at least 2 inches, in at least 2 layers of blast-resistant fabric. A high-collared shirt peeked above her waistcoat, which was almost completely hidden by the Black Admiral's jacket that swept past her thighs. Her boots rose almost to her knees and shone so much they could have been mirrors of their own. The most disturbing aspect, however, was the oval helmet that completely obscured her face. Not a single expression or aspect about her dared to leak through its metal surface. She looked every bit the butcher the crown claimed her to be. Every bit the butcher she was. Vaine stepped inside the dropship entrance, sealing the door shut. It was crammed with dozens of soldiers and officers, all wearing less ornate versions of her uniform. Vaine untied the mantle from her shoulders and secured it around the head of her trident, and the rest of the soldiers crisply followed suit. While most of them had blasters strapped to their hips, they also carried a variety of handheld weapons that ranged from maces to glaives to spears. "We deploy in 5, Vaine said, her voice carrying over to the dozens of ships in her command. "Snap into formation the instant we land and don't budge for anything." Several salutes were given to indicate that her orders were understood. Though she'd never interacted much with those under her command, they seemed to respect her, trust her, even. They wouldn't if they knew anything. She was just a glorified caretaker, an imposter. No time to dwell on that now. The floor shook as the dropship deployed, and Vaine steadied herself with the trident as the artificial gravity adjusted to keep the inhabitants of the shuttle from being thrown around and turned into corpses. Their armor was fairly effective against blaster fire, but was less effective at preventing broken bones. Vaine squeezed her eyes shut as the shuttle plummeted to the planet's surface, focusing on anything else besides what was actually happening. Her knees nearly buckled as the ship collided with the ground, but she managed to stay on her feet and slam her fist against the door, forcing it to slide open. The troops flooded past her in a river of gray, green, purple, and black. Their boots kicked up dust as they rushed into formation, and Vaine resisted the urge to cough even though none of the dirt penetrated her helmet. Only the beast keepers and engineers were left behind. Vaine glanced back to give a nod, trying not to be spooked by the gigantic eyes of the creatures kept in the back of the vessel. The ones chosen for this mission were called whist birds, and they were enormous. Still a poor substitute for proper air support. Once everyone was out, she expanded her bioband over her smooth black sleeve, and it displayed Rakva, hopefully tucked away in his designated corner of the battlefield. She adjusted her outgoing comms to reach all troops beneath her and forced her breathing to be slow and calm. She looked over the rocky landscape to see an army of Wokmaws awaiting them beyond the wall of Iris's troops. Bipedal creatures mingling with Sar. It didn't matter that Rakva had only determined the exact location for the battle 3 hours ago. The people of Wokmaw knew, and they were ready. "Ready ranged weapons," she said, pressing a button on the side of her helmet. "We fire at the Crown Heir's command." Since they only had a few minutes before all tech completely died, Rakva would need to give the order now. Vaine prepped her trident, sliding the range as high as it would go, sacrificing the heat of the bolts to do so. "Come on, kid," she thought. "Now's the time." She glanced down at her bioband, where the image of Rakva stood cold and composed. "People of Wokmaw!" Rakva shouted, his voice coming through her helmet. "We come to offer you a chance to surrender to the Vaine Empire!" "You idiot, don't!" Vaine hissed, forgetting her words carried to every single troop beneath her. They only had so much time. They needed to fire now. "Leave now."
Ugh. Sorry, my feet are falling asleep.
"Leave now and live." The words crackled through her helmet, and they came from a person of Wokmaw who had definitely not been granted access to Vaine comms. "We have been chosen by the great god of the sun. The Tsar Empire cannot have us. You cannot take us." Silence for only a moment. It better have not been because the kid was trying to think of something smart to say. Actually, they say smarmy. It better not have been because the kid was trying to think of something smarmy to say. "Fine," Rakva said. "Then you will His words were executed with the darkening of the sky and the sound of 1,000 rivers. Vaine looked up to see a horde of gigantic creatures soaring in behind them, long alien necks holding up sharp reptilian heads. She didn't wait for Rakva's signal. "Fire!" Vaine shouted, digging her palm into the trigger compartment in her trident staff. Her troops followed suit, filling the air with blaster fire. They didn't have time to see if their blasts landed before the creatures dove in complete unison, slamming into pockets of troops across the entire battlefield, including her own forces. The ground shook as a wave of dust swept over her from behind. Vaine whirled around to find herself staring at the back of a reptilian knee covered in golden, scaly armor. Panic gripped her throat as she scrambled away and fired her trident. Joined by the rest of her forces, the beast didn't even notice. A soldier braver than Vaine rushed towards the monster's chest, spear pointed forward. The spear tip snapped off as the weapon met the beast's armor. Jaws flashed downward. Only a pair of legs remained. Vaine tried to cover her mouth, but the helmet stopped her. Her shaking hand migrated to the comm button on the side of her helmet. "Initiate full retreat towards the Prince's forces and activate shields. Do not engage the beasts. Blaster fire appears to be ineffective. Melee weapons appear to be ineffective." The beast opened its blood-stained mouth, and a blinding sphere of light slowly built between its teeth, before blasting from its maw in a massive pillar. Anyone unlucky enough to be in front of the monster crumbled to broken ashes. Flickers of blue light erupted over the field as any soldier with a shield drew one from their pocket, transforming them from handles into walls of pulsating energy. Vaine lifted her fingers from calms and snapped the shaft of her trident across her knee, sending up a flash of pain and a flurry of blue sparks. She ripped out the secondary blast regulator and pressed on the primary core, cracking it. "Admiral, what are you doing?" She didn't know whose voice crackled in her ear, and she didn't care. Though they'd been shaking all day, her fingers were somehow steady as she retrieved wire and a thin, malleable sheet of metal from her pocket. The beast turned towards her retreating forces, who had formed a rudimentary shield wall with the remaining defensive units. They were backing up towards Rakva and his troops, holding their ground surprisingly well. Vaine covered the broken end of the trident shaft with the metal sheet, then wrapped wire around it in a crude attempt to keep it secure. Another ball of light built in the beast's jaws, and it expanded into a beam that blasted into the shield wall. Though it held, the troops hit by the torrent of white slid back, and their shields faded, becoming distressingly transparent. Rakva was somewhere beyond those dying shields. Vaine bolted in front of the monster as it prepared to fire again, a small sun forming in its mouth. As she ran, she cranked up the trident's blast power, eliminating its range, and slid between the beast and her troops, releasing a scream. Vaine hurled her broken weapon directly into the creature's jaws and threw herself to the ground, covering the back of her head. She only had a single second to hope that the heat of the sphere would react to the cracked core. A roar, dampened by her helmet, ripped through every molecule of her body and sent her flying backwards. Vaine hit the shield wall with her spine, making her gasp and fail to breathe. She managed to tilt her head up high enough to see the headless, charred remnants of the monster teeter unsteadily before crashing to the ground. It didn't bleed. Instead, a conglomeration of metal and oddly constructed wires poked through its skin. Vaine grinned behind her helmet, though she couldn't breathe, and forced herself to stand up. Hi Bitmax, hi King, hi Emmy, hi Mystic Fox, hi Anthony, hi Zombo, hi Force of Love, hi Slay Station, hi Scotty, hi Cares, hi Duo, hi Father Slice. Hello Silver Bullet. Alejandro, welcome. Sorry, I'm in the middle of reading. And forced herself to stand up. Her body would have a nasty set of bruises in the morning, but all bones felt more or less intact. She expanded her bioband, selected all Allied troops in the comms section, and began a transmission. Compromised blast cores will destroy monsters if they come in contact with the mouth beam thing. Most effective if the secondary regulator has been removed. What does that even mean, Admiral? That sounded like Zir. Ask an engineer, they'll know! Vaine ended the transmission and turned to the troops still maintaining the cracked shield wall. Are you all right? They responded with a flurry of nods and shouts of yes, sir. I didn't say that right. Yes, it's been a while, King. They responded with a flurry of nods. Flurry? Flurry. They responded with a flurry of nods and shouts of yes, sir. Vaine adjusted her comms to only connect to captains and commanders under her. Get to the prince and protect him until the extraction teams arrive. I want engineers and mechanics to begin assembling warp pads the instant existing tech dies. It was just a hunch, one that engineers had speculated about long before she'd first been stationed here the first time. But there was a theory that the tech built on the planet after the wave went off wouldn't be affected the same way as pre-existing machinery. All she could do was hope her gut was correct, or they'd be stuck on the planet with no hope of escape, despite weeks of planning. Extraction teams? The question came not from her comms, but from a captain in green behind the shield wall. We just found a way to beat these things. Trust me, Vaine said. We don't win this, but we can survive. Now move! She slipped in behind the shield wall, waving for the troops to move faster as she assessed the rest of the battlefield. The main Wokmaw troops had yet to engage, letting their beasts blast apart the Vaine forces inside while they stood ready and watched. All allies were forced to deal with the beasts, leaving the actual enemy army untouched. Not good. They didn't have much time until a shockwave rippled over the rocky plain, extinguishing blaster fire and energy. A shockwave rippled over the rocky plain, extinguishing blaster fire and energy shields in its wake. Vaine grimaced in anticipation, and the wave crashed into her, vibrating every bone and making her painfully aware that her teeth were connected to her skull. It was just as uncomfortable as it had been 13 years ago. Vaine repressed a shudder and glanced down at her bioband, which was covered in violet error lights. Though she knew it wouldn't work, Vaine tried to connect to comms and was met with nothing but a low hum. No turning back now. At least Rakva had had the sense to keep the wisp birds in the transport shuttles until after the tech went out. Otherwise, they would have been devoured by the golden monsters. Several booms erupted behind her, and Vaine glanced back to see a creature near one of the transport shuttles explode. Whatever Wokmaws did to tech, it didn't cancel out basic chemical reactions. Good to know. Vaine shrank her bioband and ran as fast as she could, eyes on the flag, signifying Rakva's forces. It was still up. As long as it stayed there, the kid was okay. Vaine kept pace with her troops, running for what felt like hours. Occasionally, a wisp bird would flap overhead, darting to its assigned unit, and the sounds of blaster fire echoed from the north as the Wokmaw forces finally crashed into Iris's front lines. A wave of bolts arced overhead, hissing as they pelted into the Vaine flanks. A foot soldier in front of her was thrown to the ground by a bolt directly to the head. Only barely breaking stride, Vaine gripped their shoulders and yanked them out of the path of the charging soldiers. A commander in green paused as they passed Vaine, probably wondering if they needed to slow down the rest of the troops. "Keep going," Vaine said. "Don't slow down!" More soldiers fell out of rank as they got hit. Some of them got up. Others did not. She turned her attention to the soldier who'd fallen. Their helmet had turned into a web of golden cracks, scattered across the smooth, opaque surface. They seemed to still be breathing. "Are you still alive? Are you still alive?" Vaine asked. The soldier nodded, staggering to their feet and pulling off their helmet to reveal a young woman, even younger than Rakva. A kid. Why did they always put kids in battle? The soldier started to bolt back to her platoon. But Vaine gripped her arm. There was enough blood on her hands, and this kid wouldn't add to it. "Admiral?" the kid asked. An explosion sounded in the distance, and they both threw themselves to the ground in an attempt to shield themselves from the shower of shrapnel. "Get back to the dropship!" Vaine shouted. "Find the engineers! Do what they tell you!" "Admiral?" Vaine wrenched her own helmet free and shoved it over the kid's head. "I said go! And don't you dare get hit again!" The kid remained frozen, so Vaine shoved her towards the direction of the dropships. "Go!" Though the kid still seemed a bit dazed, the order must have clicked, and she took off. Vaine sighed in relief and bolted towards the rest of her troops, taking note of the growing number of monsters detonating across the field. It wouldn't be enough to ensure victory, but maybe they'd be able to walk away with manageable losses. She kept running and running and running. Eyes fixed on Rakva's flag as it slowly grew closer. Her troops finally reached Rakva's as the Wokmaw forces punched through the first wall of Iris's defenses. How long had the battle lasted? Vaine checked her bioband to see that an entire hour had passed since they landed. That should have been enough time for the engineers to assemble the warp pads. They could get out with minimum casualties, so long as Rakva could be persuaded to retreat. Vaine wove through the soldiers, dragging injured comrades, looking for the kid's navy coat. He wasn't in the center of the formation, or by the flag. She grabbed the arm of an information and recon soldier in blue. "Where's the prince?" He took a contingent to the northwest," the soldier said. "My report said something about a sargonite deposit." Vaine let go, panic building in her chest. He wouldn't be that stupid. He wouldn't. "What?" "That's all I know," the soldier said. "How long did they leave? How long ago did they leave?" "About 30 minutes, sir." No. Even if he detonated the sargonite, he'd be lost in the explosion. It had been pure luck Vaine had been in a place where she had a chance of survival last time. And luck that had run out a long time ago. "I need a whispered," Vaine said. "Get me a whispered, now!" The recon soldier hesitated, but lifted the visor of his helmet to bring his fingers to his mouth and whistle. "Where's your helmet, sir?" he asked. "Someone else needed it." Vaine pushed her fingers through her hair, trying not to hyperventilate. A small device rolling across the ground caught her attention, and she welcomed it as a distraction until her transport arrived. "What is that?" "That's some sort of monitoring device, sir," the commander said. The Queen had them deployed wherever there's battle. Something about tracking progress." Good. It meant they'd be assembled for... Good. It meant that they'd been assembled after the wave hit, and everyone's chances of making it out alive soared. "What about the larger transport vehicles and warp pads? Do we know if they're working? How well can these devices communicate with each other?" "The update we received 2 minutes ago states we won't have larger transport ready for another 40 minutes. The monitoring devices can't transmit information. They just seem to be able to record just fine." "It's something." A massive whist bird landed in the center of the troops, feathered wings swooping up clouds of dust. "I'm going after the prince," Vaine said. "Make sure all commanders know to initiate a retreat the instant it seems wise. Warp pads should be ready at the dropships. Pray our ships are still in range." She looked up at the bird and swallowed. "Did someone request us?" shouted a beast keeper from the bird's saddle. "I did," Vaine said. "I need to commandeer your beast, immediately." The beast keeper gave a reluctant salute and slid from the saddle, hitting the ground with a gentle whump and 2 tiny plumes of dust. Vaine flexed her hands and took a few steps back, then charged forward and jumped as high as she could. Her fingers... I need more water.
Hi, Pookie.
We keep going. Thank you. Nope. Her fingers scrambled to grip the edges of the saddle, but after a few very undignified moments, she was able to clamber onto its back. "Thank you," Vaine said. She gripped the reins and gently nudged them from side to side, testing the bird's response to them. "Be careful," the beastkeeper said. The Wokmaw monsters aren't blasting light anymore, so we're having trouble finding ways to defeat them. They've been tearing us apart and there's nothing we can do." Understood. Vaine jerked the reins up, and the bird rocketed into the sky, over the one-sided blaster fire, and quickly increasing casualties. Hopefully the commanders would receive her message, and wouldn't let Zavayan pride get in the way of carrying out the retreat. Vaine ducked as a golden bolt whizzed past her head, nearly catching the frills on her ear. Come on, she whispered to the bird, Faster! She checked the local mountain range to confirm she was headed northwest and scanned the ground for any sign of the kid and his contingent. All she saw was one of the Queen's small monitoring devices, uselessly rolling beneath her at a breakneck speed. There was something almost laughable about that being the only piece of functioning machinery available. Its purpose was to monitor, observe, and report, and it definitely couldn't do the latter. Yet it still kept going, kept trying to do what it was made to do, and even though there wasn't any point, everything it did would be in vain. She tried very hard to ignore the sick, twisted feeling that thought introduced to her stomach. The Whispered let out a screech and dove towards the ground, though she hadn't commanded it to do so. Vaine desperately tugged at the bird's reins, but it ignored her and landed behind a rock, eyes pointed at the sky.
"We don't have time for this!"
Vaine hissed.
"Come on! Rise! Come on! Come on! Rise!"
A low series of clicks and growls emerged from the bird's beak, and it shrank into a crevice in the rocks. Vaine threw herself from its back to avoid getting crushed, knees buckling as she hit the stony ground.
"What is wrong with you?"
Vaine said. She shoved its side, trying to push it back into the open, but her efforts were fruitless. Her foot rolled against a rock, making her slip. Vaine let out a yell and stopped pushing the Whispered to grab the stone and hurl it away. But as her fist pulled back to make the throw, two things happened. First, a monster with enormous golden wings zipped across the sky above her. Second, she realized the stone in her hands was sargonite. They'd sent one of those things after her kid. Vaine shoved the sargonite in her pocket and gripped the Whispered's reins, tugging them as hard as she could.
"Come out! It's safe!"
At the word safe, the Whispered emerged from its hiding place. Vaine nearly fainted in relief and clambered into the saddle. The Wokmaw monster was still in sight, but only barely. "Follow," Vaine said, hoping the bird would understand. Luckily, it did, and leapt into the sky, chasing after the serpentine monster. Vaine put the reins in her teeth and gripped the saddle as tightly as she could with her knees, removing the blaster from her belt. She pried the cover free from the barrel, rendering the weapon useless. That was fine. All she needed was the cyradium inside, which she popped free with her thumb, trying and failing to keep her hands steady with the constant rolling of the Whispered's body. Vaine removed a bit of wire from her pocket and wrapped it around the sargonite until just a little of the wire rose from above the rock. She needed an adhesive, something simple, something conductive. Keeping the cyradium as far away from the sargonite as possible, while still holding both in the same hand, Vaine opened up her bioband settings and commanded all the distorted biomatter to congeal. It formed in a glowing blob just above her wrist, and she plucked it free from the water and stuck it on the end of the wire. bending the metal down to a sharp angle until it touched the stone. She slid her thumb underneath the congealed biomatter and pulled it away again, and the end of the wire sprang back down against the rock. Perfect. Vaine pressed the glowing chip of cyradium into the biomatter and placed her thumb between it and the sargonite. The golden monster folded its wings and fell to the ground. It didn't take long for her to notice its new prey, and that one of them was dressed in navy and had a mantle of gold and silver wrapped around his spear. With a roar, the beast stalked forward, bearing gigantic metal teeth. Rakva and his soldiers fired desperately, but their weapons had already been useless before Wokmaw had taken them out. Vaine screamed, praying the whist bird understood. It did. Vaine tightened her hold on the sargonite and outstretched her hand as the bird crashed into the monster's head. Even as it was knocked back, the beast found time to snatch at her. She barely felt its teeth close on her arm. She barely felt its teeth close around her arm before she flew from the saddle and hit the ground, rolling across stone. Rolling across stone. The sargonite. She needed to move her thumb, let the cyradium connect. An explosion roared from the monster's throat as its chest detonated. The creature burst into a blurry haze of golden shapes, and as it did, the pain hit. The pain hit. She heard nothing but agony and tried to grab the source and silence it. All her fingers found was blood. "Vaine!" The kid's voice cut through the misery, and she couldn't help but feel a pinch of relief. He was alive. "Get out! Get out!" Vaine commanded through clenched teeth. Oh, then I gotta do that again. "Get out!" Vaine commanded through clenched teeth. Her ability to focus was rapidly crumbling, her vision turning black, but she remained lucid enough to remember that the kid was being stupid. It's... I gotta get the voice back. It's okay. It's okay. We can save it. No, that still sounds like me. Hi, Luca. I gotta drink water again. It's okay. It's okay. We can save it. Rakva said. Something touched her arm, and the pain forced her spine to spring into an arch. She tried not to scream. She failed. Save what? Someone else was talking. Someone Vaine didn't recognize. Your Highness, there's nothing... Shut up! Just give me the stim patches! This was all too much. She couldn't bear it. She just needed to die, now, and end it all. The world turning black, her mouth opened in a silent scream, and the world collapsed into oblivion. All right, that was the end of chapter 16. Hi, Kevin. Hi, Derb. Hi, Airfix. Hi, Pookie. Hi, Sammy. Hi, Dova. Hello, all my sweet little fishies. How are you today? I hope all of my fishies that are listening along to the book are enjoying it and you're having a wonderful time. I hope that if you've fallen asleep, that you are fast asleep and you stay asleep. And if you are not, I hope that the stream is at least relaxing for you. I see a lot of people saying about how they don't like this model. Okay. I still have changes to make to this. So maybe next time you come back and you get to see this model in all its glory, it's possible that then I will have customized the textures and it'll look a little bit different. And plus, all that matters is that I like it. So, I get to be 2D. Like, this is the first time I get to be 2D. Alright? Thank you so much for the gifts on TikTok, by the way. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Sandboy. Thank you, Mystic Fox. Thank you, Milo. You are all so sweet. Thank you, thank you. I do think that this is a good time to take a step away and go to the bathroom, okay? And if you have not eaten anything, if you do not have water with you, please do go refill your water, okay? I also need to check on something because I feel like this isn't set correctly. Oh, that was my neck. What chapter? We will be starting chapter 17 after this. I'm not sure with like the facial tracking and stuff. I don't know if that uses the iPhone. Like, do I need to adjust the sensitivity on the iPhone, or do I need to change the sensitivity on the computer? I don't know. I'm not sure. Jingle jingle, bing bong. Okay. Alright. I will take a moment. I will go to the bathroom. I will be right back. And then we will read chapter 17 after Wokmaw. So they just had big war battle, and then we go back home. Have fun with the fishies.
Where's the cheese?
It's under the sauce.
There's no cheese on it.
It's under the sauce.
I'm back.
Hi. Hi, David. Alright. Poodle 1 in chat if you are ready to start chapter 17. Do you think that I should be farther away from the camera? Do I need to be zoomed out? Ooh. Zoom. Do you want more zoom? I think I need to go over this way. Got to... There we go. That's better. The model looks good. Hi, Jem.
Excuse me? Mommy?
Mommy?
Sorry.
Mommy?
Sorry.
Sorry.
Mommy?
Mommy?
Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy?
Hi, Nobu. One second. All right. Hi, Kinjan. Thank you for the hydrate. And Chicken Shadow, I did do your hydrate as well. Let's get back into it. Let's keep reading. Because what are we? We are readers. We are reading fishies. Oh my goodness. Perfect timing. Hello, Moog. Hi. How are you? It's good to see you. Welcome. Welcome in, Raiders. Moog, how was your stream? What were you doing? How are you today? I hope you're doing wonderful. Yes, I had to redo the customization, but I like switching back and forth between 2D and 3D, and so this is new. This is a new model. It's really cool. Hi, Ember. Hi, let's see. Konorino I don't know how to say that. The Odyssey! I haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Congratulations on finishing the Odyssey. I hope that you had a wonderful stream. Carno, nice to meet you, Carno. I hope that you had a wonderful stream and that you enjoyed reading it. Thank you so much for the raid, and hello everyone. If you don't know me, my name is Steph. I read books and stories on stream to help you escape reality and all of the daily stresses you endure. This is a place where you can feel at peace and calm and relax. You can solve a puzzle. All you have to say is the word puzzle and you'll get the link. Or you can fall asleep, stay asleep. You could also just listen to me while you do other things. I do apparently make for a really good audiobook. So if you or any of your fishies have to step away, it's perfectly okay. Please do prioritize your well-being and your care. If you need to get some food, drink some water, or log off for the night, please do prioritize yourself. But I hope you enjoy the story. We are reading Drown the Stars, which is a independently published book by Quiana Chase. It is a alien space opera. And we are over halfway through the book. And so that is kind of like my warning that if you want to read this on your own and you're not caught up, there are going to be spoilers. We are 75% of the way through the book. But in the last chapter, we were on another planet in battle during war. So in the chapter I'm about to begin, we are waking up back home. So that was the only chapter of that kind. If you're concerned about any of the trigger warnings, !TW. And if you enjoy listening to the book and you want to hear more, you can always check out the previous live streams. And I will be editing this into an audiobook and sharing it on my YouTube channel in the future. So keep an eye on that as well. We highly encourage getting the book yourself if you enjoy the story, and you can actually get a really nice discount on it, signed by the author themselves, and you can !buy book. But without further ado, I do record my readings, so I will not be able to interact with chat as I am doing the reading, and as I make mistakes, I do ask that you don't bully me, please. Without further ado. Chapter 17. 13 years and 3 months post Wokmaw. Vaine didn't expect to wake up. Part of her didn't want to, because there was no pain in sleep, no pain in death.
Hi, Dewey.
She groaned and opened her eyes against her better judgment, and found herself almost entirely submerged in a medical pod. So, not in Wokmaw. That was definitely a bonus. But where was Rakva? Had he made it out? She needed to find him. Vaine pushed herself upright, but her left hand couldn't make contact with the pod. It wasn't even there. Her hand was gone, along with most of her arm. Tears! She cursed. Sure, she'd known the risks, but that didn't mean she had to like the results. I didn't know you could swear. Vaine snapped up to see Rakva sitting next to her, face sunken, skulls. Nope, not skulls, scales. He doesn't have multiple skulls, I promise. Clip that, because that's going in the blooper reel. I didn't know you could swear. Vaine snapped up to see Rakva sitting next to her, face sunken, scales dull. She sighed in relief and relaxed in the pod, letting the water splash around her shoulders. You're okay. Good. I'm so sorry, Rakva blurted. This is all my fault. I'm so stupid. Just like you said. And stop. Stop, Vaine said. You're not stupid. You just didn't know. I said some things I shouldn't have. I was just... Vaine winced and tried to find the right words. You're my kid, Rakva. Thinking about you getting hurt makes my vision turn purple. Rakva smiled, though it was far from a happy smile. I guess. Maybe if I'd been smarter, maybe you'd still have your arm. I have half an arm, Vaine said, holding up her stump. The end was covered in clean scar tissue. Maybe you would have the whole thing if I hadn't used a stim patch on it, Rakva said. The surgeon said there would have been a chance to reattach it if I... Reattach what? The arm that got bit off and then exploded. Vaine rubbed the stump at the same time her non-existent fingers started itching. Lovely. I guess so, Rakva said. He leaned back into himself. You know, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. Rakva, Vaine said, voice low. He couldn't afford to do things he wasn't supposed to do. I got a message from Cadet saying to meet with my mother immediately, and I ended up here without thinking about it. Vaine's heart sank. The Queen would not like that. How long have you been here? 2 hours, Rakva whispered. I couldn't just leave you. Not when you're here because of me. Not when you're in here because of me. Vaine took a deep breath and closed her eyes. You know what I said about you not being stupid? I'm very tempted to take it back. Yeah, she'll be mad. But I can handle it, Rakva said. What's the worst she could do to me? Before Vaine could answer, the door to the medical chamber slid open, revealing the Majesty herself. Brilliant. Rakva, the Queen said, voice crisp. There you are. I almost thought you'd deserted. Rakva shot to his feet, hands clenched. Hands clenched at his sides. My apologies. There must have been a miscommunication. Vaine bit the inside of her cheek, hard. The Queen brushed his words away with a flicker of her hand. It doesn't matter. This is the place I was going to bring you anyway. The corners of her mouth weren't turned up in a smile, exactly, but her scowl was nowhere to be seen except in the lines of her face. What was going on? Maybe there was a spark of compassion in that woman's soul. Maybe she was grateful that Vaine had saved her son's life. Cadet shifted by the Queen's side, a box of war paint in his hands. Oh. Rakva, you might want to go, Vaine whispered. He stays, the Queen said. After all, he wanted this. He wanted both. He wanted you both to go to Wokmaw and everything that came with it. What's going on? Rakva asked. You are aware, of course, that we were surveying your performance, the Queen said. I know I failed, Rakva said. You don't have to tell me. Not just your performance. The Queen looked past him and straight at Vaine. Vaine flinched and glanced away. This footage was a bit difficult to maintain, to obtain, but luckily many of our drones made it back to a warp pad, and we were able to obtain everything they saw. Let's review, shall we? The Queen nodded at Cadet, who pressed a small cube into the wall fountain. It lit up a water display, which clearly showed the beast, roaring, charging into Rakva's ranks, Rakva scrambling to get out of the way, attempting to fire his near-useless blaster at the monster. Rakva didn't move. He didn't look away, though Vaine guessed he wanted to. She wanted to. Vaine flying into view aboard the Whistbird, slamming into the monster, the beast snatching her arm and tossing her directly towards the camera. Behind her, the creature burst apart. But that was not what the camera decided to focus on. Vaine watched herself, covered in blood, kneeling on the ground, clutching the mass of ripped flesh where her arm used to be. She watched herself scream silently in agony, doubled over, as Rakva and another soldier dragged her away. Whoever controlled the camera decided to ignore her exposed bone and the enemy troops retreating behind her. They ignored the Zevayan soldiers abandoning their young prince in the dirt. They ignored the corpse of the beast, split apart and charred. They focused on one thing. 2 lines of black tears, slowly cutting a trail through the dirt and blood on her face. The display faded. Wow, the Queen said. It really is a shame that one of our greatest admirals fell to weakness. Weakness? That didn't feel like Rakva's voice. Weakness? Wow. I gotta channel my inner Ash Ketchum. Weakness? I'm trying to channel it. Weakness? No, I still sound like me. Weakness? Rakva sputtered. You know our laws, the Queen said. We can't provide exceptions just because someone is a decorated admiral. Good deeds don't erase the disgrace she brings upon our people and her station. Disgrace? Rakva's fists rose from his side to his waist. The gray had all but disappeared from his face, replaced with a hot violet. Excuse me. Rakva. Rakva, Vaine said. It's all right. Admiral Vaine, the crown has been provided with undeniable evidence that you have broken sacred tradition and shed tears, thereby displaying weakness and inviting dishonor, the Queen said. She was glowing. Though you will maintain your station, you must constantly wear this mark as a reminder to yourself and all others of the shame you have harbored into Vaine society. Cadet stepped forward, flipping open the box of war paint. He dipped a brush in the black paint and added a mark below her eye, probably next to her other one. She offered no resistance. You are required to apply this mark by law. If you are ever found without it, you will be arrested immediately. If you shed tears a third time, you will be exiled to Draxus. Do you understand? Somehow, despite her voice remaining flat and clipped, the Queen sounded venomous. I do, Vaine said. Worse things had happened to her. Not much worse, but worse things had still happened. The Queen smiled. She smiled so wide, her teeth almost slid past her thin lips in a curved sneer. No, Rakva said. No, this isn't fair. There has to be an exception. Her arm got ripped off. Anyone would tear up at that. Our laws do not say that weeping is forbidden unless you lose a limb, the Queen said. It merely states that weeping is forbidden. Rakva's chest began to heave, and his chin started to tremble. It's not worth it, Rakva, Vaine said. Walk away. But Rakva did what he always did when she told him what to do. Something, and ignored her. It's not right. I gotta get in character. Hi, welcome. It's not right, Rakva said, voice rising. His pupils expanded, and his eyes turned into obsidian pools. She doesn't deserve this! You're punishing her for something that was my fault! The Queen sighed. You're not being rational. You were not the one who wept. She was. Rakva hiccuped, and black tears of his own spilled from his eyes. I am now. Give me the mark too. Cadet glanced at the Queen, brush still in his hand. No, the Queen said. She gently pat Rakva on the head, as if he were a pet. You're pardoned. It wouldn't do for the crown heir to walk around with a weeper's mark How embarrassing. Though, if you do insist on throwing a fuss, let me remind you that the dear Admiral still has 3 limbs left to lose. Rakva wiped at his eyes, black streaking the back of his hands, though his breath continued to catch. Well, I have some very important duties to attend to, the Queen said. Rakva, you will compose yourself. Then you will join me in the Chambers of Enlightenment. I said that wrong. Rakva, you will compose yourself and then join me in the Chambers of Enlightenment. We have much to discuss. She waved Cadet to her side, and the two left without another word, leaving nothing but the sound of running water and Rakva's sobs. That is the end of chapter 17. Welcome to our new fishies. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you are enjoying the story. Yes, even if you are a sea creature, you do still need to drink water. No, you are perfectly okay. I read chat when I can. That's why it sounded so familiar when you were doing it. Ah, yeah, because it's my voice. I mean, I can do a variety of voices, but given I did do Rakva's voice, initially when he was introduced, he was like a 2-year-old. So I did Rakva's voice as a 2-year-old, and then I think as an 8-year-old, maybe, and then as a 11-year-old, and now he is about 16. You hit the ash in full force? I did? I question. I say I did with a question mark because I actually can't remember what Ash Ketchum sounds like. We got new face tracking? Yeah. I think the last time that we did a stream with the customizable model and I was working on stuff was using the desktop face tracking. I could be wrong. I don't remember. I don't have a memory. It's all gone. Brain, escape. Monship, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. You hit it, and then I was like, no, that's not it. Well, it's hard to keep the emotion and the momentum while also impersonating characters, because that's these characters are themselves, and I am impersonating them. I am bringing them to life. The act of keeping the queen in her very wispy, speak very slowly, very uptight, monotone, I am going to tell you exactly what you did wrong. But there have been times in this book where the queen has raised her voice or has changed her tone or sounded different, and that's difficult. It's difficult to maintain. How do you sound like a bitchy person while also raising your voice? There is also the enunciation of the word that you're saying that can also affect in whether my voice is going to sound like Ash. Sometimes emotion doesn't carry the way, but glad to be back. It's great to have you back, King. How have you been? I mean, I really hope, like, fingers crossed that you've got good news. I hope that life has changed in good ways, in better ways. I need to clear up some of these bookmarks, and then we will read another chapter, maybe. I was encouraged to try streaming for longer than my usual 2 hours. New job. Almost mint condition classic muscle car. Oh, that is amazing. I want to hear the details of that. When it comes to making the audiobook for this book, one of the details I'm looking forward to including is going to be, in addition to where it says the chapter number, also including the other subtext with it. So there was, at some point in the story, a murder, an assassination. David, thank you so much for the gift on TikTok. Thank you. And there was a countdown until the assassination happened. And there's also the 13 years of the time frame after Wokmaw. So I'm looking forward to including those little details in the audiobook. Not jump into it. Yes. Going from one thing into the next thing is not preferable, but it's important that you set up a foundation for yourself to prevent, slippery slopes. Something that I thought about, for the model outfit is, you guys know that my hair is blue in the back and white bangs in the front. I know this model isn't showing that. I'm working on it. I gotta retexture. But the dress is black because I wanted it to kind of seem like my hi Zoidberg. I want it to kind of seem like my 3D model, but now I'm wondering, should the dress be white? I think that maybe I should make the dress white. This is clearly a museum because your voice is a work of art. Why aren't you a smooth talker? Hello and welcome. I am going to start reading the next chapter of this book. If you'd like to listen to me read some more. Let me see. Let me make sure that I am positioned in the center of the screen. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that was smooth. That was really smooth. White would be lovely. I think I agree. Black gives the nice contrast. Yeah, okay. I do like to see chat interaction. Oh, I'm sorry, Wraith. I don't know that I said hi. Hi, Wraith. I saw your message. I'm sorry. I don't want you to feel ignored. White accent. I think that when I do the retexturing, I might include all the lines and stuff that I have on the 3D model. So there is still going to be a little bit of blue on, and a little bit of blue and white on the black dress, and a little bit of white on the sleeves. I actually realized that, yeah, I can't do a bodysuit, but I can put a different top with this so that I can get it to look kind of like the bodysuit. We'll see if I'm successfully able to get the bangs to be white. I'm not sure what went wrong. Clearly something went right, because the halo is white. Well, I mean, it looks white, but there's a blue line around the halo, and I did that. I retextured that, so I know that it worked. So yeah, there's a blue halo on my head. Okay. Let's see. One more chapter? Hi, Kayla. Alright, I see the puzzle is still going, so reminder, do let me know when we finish that puzzle, okay? I am going to see... Alright. How many pages is this? Okay, this next chapter is 13 pages long. Let's give it a whirl. You know, I should really Google and check to see, is drinking electrolyte water bad for your vocal cords? Like, in terms of, like, when I'm voice acting? Because these electrolytes have a lot of sodium. Is it a good idea to have salt on your vocal cords? Salty. Anyway, I read. Excuse me. Chapter 18. 13 years and 4 months post Wokmaw. Vaine couldn't remember the last time the Crown had called a meeting like this without any notice. She shuffled into the meeting room along with all the other high-ranking officers, who gave her a wide berth. She ignored them, and they ignored her, all except one. Iris stood next to her, posture straight and perfect. "Are you sure you want to be so close?" Vaine muttered. "Doesn't look good to associate with a weeper." "Oh, shut up," Iris whispered. Vaine tried not to smile. She'd only been on her feet for a few days, but it felt like a lifetime ago when her fellow officers seemed to at least pretend to tolerate her presence instead of what they did now. And though Iris's reputation had plummeted as well, she refused to let Vaine move out of the house. "Do you know what this is about?" Vaine asked. She went to clasp her hands behind her back, but the fingers of her right hand brushed against nothing but air, Right. Still not used to that. No, Iris said, but I don't like how the Queen is looking at you. Vaine risked a glance at the Queen, who stood at the front of the room, glowering directly at her. The King, on the other hand, was almost smirking. What did I do? Vaine thought. After their last conversation, Vaine had gone out of her way to be the pinnacle of a good, obedient officer. High on painkillers, Vaine might have been snarky and borderline rebellious, but lucid Vaine knew the ice she trod on was extremely thin. She couldn't afford to do anything remotely outside of protocol. Somehow, that had only seemed to make the Queen even more furious with her, and judging by the expression on her face, that fury hadn't subsided. Cadet cleared his throat and slammed the butt of his trident into the ground, sending a hush throughout the room. Look at all of you, the Queen said, hands primly folded in front of her. The Crown's most trusted officers, privy to our inner workings, granted privilege beyond compare. And yet, at least one of you is a traitor. Vaine's heart lurched, mind pinwheeling to come up with instances where she might have betrayed the Crown. She hadn't. She'd been too focused getting caught up with her workload and recovering from having a limb ripped off. But she still couldn't shake the intense guilt. Before we get any further, would anyone like to confess? The King asked. We know you're in this room, whoever you are. Come forward now. Come forward now, and we won't kill you. No one moved. The King threw his arm across the table in front of him, sending all the data cubes and decorations flying to the ground. I said... Damn it, how do I do this without peeking my microphone? I do this, where I turn the volume down. 20% of gamers don't know this. Clip that. I said confess! He shouted. Are you all traitors? All cowards! Not even one accusation.
Okay, there we go. I can turn it back up now. Sorry. I'm sorry if I woke you up.
Vaine wanted to ask what the traitor had done exactly, but drawing any amount of attention to herself would not end well. Still, no one came forward. Fine, the Queen said. Cadet, send in your investigators. Give me the results when you're done. Cadet gave a deep bow and tapped on his bioband as the Queen exited through the side door, leaving the King behind. A wave of enforcement officers flooded into the room, holding recording devices and thick pads of swirling biowater. The next 3 hours were spent answering questions and reviewing security feeds. Each officer was questioned about the events of the past week in excruciating detail. Each claim, by each officer, demanded an alibi. Once they were deemed sufficiently innocent of whatever had happened, they were allowed to leave with instructions to report any suspicious activity of anyone in the room. Of anyone in the room. Many suspicious glances were tossed in Vaine's directions. Multiple directions? I'm pretty sure there's only one Vaine. Many suspicious glances were tossed in Vaine's direction as the officers filed out, one by one. Luckily, Vaine and Iris had their schedules very closely accounted for because of the frequent check-ins with surgeons and active location tracking of every message they sent to each other. Even still, the investigators spent more time picking at their stories than anyone else's, looking for the smallest inconsistencies long after it had been confirmed neither of them had done anything remotely treasonous. "You're free to go," the investigator finally said, after double-checking... Can somebody clip that? Exclamation point clip. I feel lost. Our 2-year-old boy turned 16. You're very distractible? No, I just make a lot of mistakes. Distractible? Have you heard of Markiplier's? Okay. The investigator finally said after double-checking their data records for the millionth time. "Thank you," Iris said. The room was practically empty. She and Vaine both began to leave, but the investigator grabbed Vaine's shoulder, right over one of her more nasty bruises. She sucked in a tight breath and clenched her teeth. "Not you," the investigator said. "The king wanted to speak with you." Iris shot Vaine a glance that only the closest to her would recognize as deeply nervous. "I'm sure it's nothing," Vaine said, though she could already feel beads of sweat forming on the back of her neck. "We've already established the only thing I'm guilty of is crying, and that isn't exactly a secret. I'm not worried about you," Iris said, though her eyes communicated otherwise. "Take care." With only a cursory glance, she left the room with the last investigator and cadet, who kept his eyes on the water slab in front of him and muttered continuously under his breath. Then the door shut, leaving Vaine inside with the king alone. "Admiral," the king said, "I've been meaning to speak with you." Vaine swallowed as the king approached. What little combat she knew relied heavily on her ability to use 2 arms. If he wanted her dead, that's what he'd get. I just wanted to let you know what's going on," the king said, draping an arm over her shoulders as if she were an old friend. The scent of his saltwood cologne nearly overpowered her, and it took every atom of self-control she had not to recoil and fold in on herself. "See, lately, the local insurgents have been destroying our databases. Specifically, databases containing records of weepers. We have lost track of thousands of citizens
who should have been sent to Draxus. So, we relocated our banks to the heart of the palace with extremely limited access. Can you guess what happened?
The databases got wiped anyway. Vaine felt like a small child in a lecture. He was touching her. He was touching her. She couldn't do anything about it, and maybe, if she was lucky, her skin would catch fire, and she'd be cleansed from the blood she saw splattered across his clothes.
That's right. They got wiped anyway. And yours was the first name to be erased. All the others were scrubbed in order of the last 3 digits of their IDNs. But not yours. Someone went out of their way to get rid of your record first.
He chuckled.
Not like it would have done you any good. We don't need records to remember that fun little incident 2 weeks ago.
Vaine gave a crisp nod and waited for the blaster fire.
Anyway, my wife was certain it was you. Faye's really hoped you would run away and she'd have an excuse to do something terrible to you. She isn't fond of you one bit, even though she never, ever stops talking about you.
He playfully poked the second Weeper's mark on her face, and she flinched as he laughed.
I'm sorry about that, by the way. I tried to convince her to pardon you, because I really like you. Big fan of how you find ways to create massive explosions with almost nothing. I don't care about all this politics, you know.
While still leaning on her shoulders, the king gesticulated with hands.
But in the end, I'm just the handsome bloke she chose to continue the bloodline. And if she wants to use someone as her slide to get rid of more chips, I can't do much about it. I can try, but in the end, you know more than anyone. You're one of the only officers I know I can trust. Especially since you kept my little secret for years.
He offered a wink, and Vaine's blood turned to ice.
Oh, yes, I know you know,
the king said airily.
I didn't realize till about a week. I didn't realize until about a year ago, and I nearly got rid of you. But then I thought, well, she said nothing, and I didn't even ask. Very impressive. A sign of someone truly loyal to the crown.
He used the hand that wasn't draped across her to lightly slap her left shoulder in the same injured place the investigator had grabbed her.
I'd let my wife know how much I owe you, but then I'd have to tell her the secret too, and I don't want to deal with that kind of messiness,
the king said.
So, just watch your back. She's out to get you. If you were somehow able to find our traitor, though, use your talents to blow them to pieces, I think it would get remarkably better for you. And it would be doing me a huge favor.
The smile disappeared from his face.
It just grinds at me, knowing there's someone in the court who's a turncoat. The thought that someone who I should trust, who should be loyal to me, is out there defying everything I've built.
He gripped her shoulders with such a ferocity and intensity, Vaine had to clamp down on her tongue to keep from crying out.
My wife and I both want blood. We want to watch this traitor get ripped apart piece by piece, and if we can't find them soon, then we'll have to blame someone else. I think you know who that will be.
If Vaine said anything, If Vaine said anything, if she moved even a single muscle, she'd vomit. She had to remain absolutely still. She couldn't even nod.
This has been a good talk,
the king said.
Take care, my friend. You're the only person I can trust, and I'd hate to lose you.
Vaine took a deep breath to calm herself before entering her instruction room. The conversation with the king had shaken her to her core. The conversation with the king had shaken her to the core, but she still had a job to do. She pushed open the door to see Rakva pacing the floor while Callus... You know what? I impersonated the king so well that I need a drink of water. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. If only the king could just tell his wife that he killed their eldest daughter. And then, you know. But of course not. I'm sorry, Zywon. I just saw that comment. I've got no context at all, so this is funny. You are catching us 82% of the way through the book. I know I'm recording and I'm gonna have to edit this out. Zywon, that comment just tickled me. A king gives bad vibes because I want to say he's two-faced, but he's like three-faced. Think party frat guy who has an explosive, violent side that is unpredictable and spontaneous. And he throws around like the power that he has over everyone. Like he treats everyone like his friend, but he just so quickly kills them or lets them die for funsies. And he also has like explosive anger, which again, you know, we're 80% of the way. So do we know why there's an investigation? Yes, he just said that there's an investigation going on because a bunch of data that they have on the Weepers. Weepers are the lowest class citizen that you could possibly be, because how dare you cry as an adult? A bunch of the
Weeper's information, the equivalent of like a social security number, got deleted. And we're about to learn a little bit about that. The conversation with the king had shaken her to the core, but she still had a job to do. She pushed open the door to see Rakva pacing the floor, while Kellis sat at the table, feet swinging right above the carpet, agitated by Rakva's steps.
See?
Kellis said, resting her head atop her folded arms.
I told you nothing was wrong. She was just late.
Rakva mumbled something under his breath and took a seat next to his sister, fingering the silver and gold threads of his mantle.
He was about to go looking for you,
Kellis says.
He always gets like this when you're late. I apologize for my tardiness, Your Highnesses,
Vaine said, offering a stiff salute. There was an unscheduled officers' meeting.
You say that like it's supposed to make me less worried,
Rakva mumbled. He leaned back in his chair and folded his arms, refusing to look at her.
You could have at least told me where you were. Of course, Crown Rakva,
Vaine said. Kellis squinted at her.
You're acting weird.
My apologies again. Are we ready to begin?
No, Kellis is right,
Rakva said. He stared at her, and she noticed for the first time the dark circles under his eyes and the way his words slightly slurred together.
What's going on? Did anything happen in that meeting?
He'd been sneaking out. She stopped being at the night guards' throats for 2 weeks?
Yes,
Vaine said, but I'm not here to tell you about court politics. Today, we're going to be doing something a little more fun. She pulled a box from beneath the table, only struggling a little, and dropped it in front of the kids. You're going to make me a new arm. Their eyes lit up, and even though Rakva's movements were a little slower than usual, he picked through the pieces of equipment with intense interest. Right now, this is a standardized implant for amputees. Vaine said, forming her bioband into a small screen and handing it to Kellis. It's a disc that connects to the nerves and translates signals from the brain into more mechanical ones. Notice all the standard ports embedded? Technically, you can connect anything and the amputee can control it. So, come up with something useful and interesting. She was cheating. Because of how hectic the past few weeks had been, she hadn't had time to properly prepare lessons, and instead wrote them in the hours directly before each session. Today, that time had been wrenched away. We are reading Drown the Stars by Quiana Chase, a sci-fi alien soap opera drama. Today, that time had been wrenched away. The kids needed something to do, and she needed to think. It was safe to assume that whoever the traitor was, they were either very good at covering their tracks, or not one of the high-ranking officers at all. They also wanted to make Vaine look bad.
Maybe they had a vendetta. Maybe she was just a convenient scapegoat. Probably the latter. She didn't make enemies very often anymore. But when she did, it was with the queen. Maybe there wasn't a traitor at all, and the entire thing was just a ruse orchestrated by Faze to humiliate her and get her out of the way. So, I heard a bunch of data about Weepers got erased last night. So... No, I can't... Sorry, I'm moving around. Ow. I'm losing circulation in my legs. So... I heard a bunch of data about Weepers got erased last night. Rakva said, hooking up a biomatter regulator to a render drive. Everyone who got erased doesn't have to wear their marks anymore. Or maybe the traitor didn't have a vendetta against her, but instead an extremely misplaced desire to help. It took everything Vaine had not to slap her forehead and groan aloud. Interesting piece of gossip, Vaine said. Focus on your work. Though she didn't expect them to get very far, the kids came up with some very interesting ideas. Kellis's concept was basically just a blast dagger strapped to her arm, and Rakva created a semi-functional biowater limb that he kept smacking Kellis with when she wasn't looking. Normally, Vaine would have told him to knock it off, but today she didn't feel like it. Her shoulders still burned where the king had touched her, and all she wanted to do was scrub her skin raw until she became clean again. That's not practical, Rakva said, poking the blaster Kellis was trying to meld to a control disk.
It is if you're a fighter,
Kellis said.
I heard Dad say he still wants to take her on campaigns and stuff. Plus, having a knife for an arm is cool.
Kellis's words pulled Vaine from her thoughts for a moment. Did the king really think she would be useful on the field? She was worthless before, but with the loss of her dominant hand. I guess it's cool, Rakva said. But it's gonna overheat if you do it that way. Here, let me show you. Kellis scooted away.
No! You're just gonna whack me with that weird tentacle thing.
No, I'm not. Rakva scooted closer to her. She shoved him. He shoved her back. And within seconds, they were wrestling to the ground. Within seconds, they were wrestling on the ground, squealing like otters. Time to intervene. Okay, that's enough, Vaine said. Get up. Focus on your work. And sit on opposite sides of the table. She spent the rest of the session keeping them from fighting and growing increasingly impressed with their ingenuity.
I gotta say that one again.
I'm hungry. She spent the rest of the session keeping them from fighting and growing
Excuse me?
increasingly...
Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy?
and growing increasingly impressed with their ingenuity. Neither of their inventions would work as actual prosthetics, but they provided an enormous amount of potential, especially Rakva's. He was so patient as he guided Kellis through different creation and assembly techniques. Yes, if something were to happen to her, they would be fine. Maybe she should just claim to be the traitor and put an end to this mess. Are you insane? The thought came to her not in her own voice, but Iris's. You don't even know if he's the one who did it. Look at him. He can't put his mantle on straight, much less infiltrate the crown's closely guarded files. Now, it looks like there isn't enough room on this data piece, but there is, Rakva said, pointing at a chip in Kellis's hands. There are millions of temp files on every operative device. It's just a matter of finding them and deleting them. If that doesn't work, I can show you an easy workaround to gaining access to the perm files, even if they claim to be unlocked. When you end up doing that, though, don't go through your personal bioband. Use a throwaway, or at least hijack someone else's print. Okay, maybe he could. But that didn't mean he did. If that kind of logic was applied to Vaine, she would have been arrested for treason this morning. She needed to stop jumping to conclusions. Once their session ended, Salakin arrived to shuttle her to whatever she was supposed to be doing for the rest of the day, and Rakva started to follow her. Wait, Vaine said. Stay here. I want to talk to you about something. Rakva slowly pulled his hand away from the doorframe. Okay. Vaine sat on the table and folded her arms. Well, tried to. Are you getting enough sleep? The kid shrugged. I guess. So you're not sneaking out then? Vaine said, tilting her head. The guilt that encompassed every inch of Rakva's face was both immediate and unmistakable. And yet, he had the temerity to say, no. Okay, so if I talk to every member of the Night Guard and ask about your activity, they'll all be able to respond and I'll find none of them have been bribed? Rakva shuffled his feet and leaned away from her, looking at the door. I don't know what they'll tell you. I really hope you're staying where you're supposed to be, Vaine said, because I'm sure you heard the news about a traitor in the court. Supposed to be very dangerous. I wouldn't want you getting hurt. I have a feeling the traitor won't come after me, Rakva said. Tears. The boy was subtle as a raging wildfire. She needed to find a way to discuss this without actually discussing this. I really hope that's true, because they seem to be after me, Vaine said. After you? Rakva frowned. Why would you think that? You know that data was erased, Vaine said. Something you must have learned from your father, because that isn't common knowledge. It was tracking data for many weepers. Gone, including mine. Relief swept over Rakva's face. That's good, isn't it? That's good, isn't it? Then you can stop wearing your marks, and that's not how it works. That's not how it works, Vaine said. It doesn't matter if every record about me gets erased and I move to Moon. How? Elirabis. It doesn't matter if every record about me gets erased and I move to Moon Elirabis. Everyone knows who I am and what I did. I'm going to happily wear these marks for the rest of my life, but the Crown doesn't know that. They just think it seems horribly suspicious that my data was erased first, and outside the sequence the traitor used to delete all the other profiles. And now, everything I say and do is under intense scrutiny, even more so than before. Rakva shrunk in on himself. Would they leave you alone if the traitor revealed themselves? No, Vaine said, heart jolting in her chest. He couldn't come clean. They'd kill him. Zaylin got murdered just for getting into an argument. She didn't even want to think about what would happen to Rakva if it was discovered he had engaged in outright treason. No, that would make everything so much worse. Enough people are dead. I think the best thing for the traitor to do is just leave it all behind and find something better to do with their time. But what if they're just incredibly arrogant? Yes, Vaine said with a glower. The Crown will find them, especially if they keep being so careless, and they will be put to death. She pushed a hand through her hair. All traitors, as all traitors deserve to be. Rakva scoffed. Are we done? I have places to go. Where? The same places you're sneaking off to at night? Haven't you already lost enough sleep? The kid clamped his jaw shut and opened it a few times before responding. I thought we weren't going to fight anymore. Listen, Crown Admiral Rakva. As you're getting older, you're starting to realize how broken this world is. I see in you, more than anyone, the ability to change that. But you've got to start using your head. If you really want to help me, then stop holding me back, Rakva said. Stop keeping things from me. Yeah, I made stupid choices, like Wokmaw, but only because you didn't tell me everything. That isn't fair, Vaine said, jabbing a finger at him. Look, do you think I keep information from you because I like it? Because I think it's fun? I don't. But the world we live in hasn't left me with much of a choice. There are many things I would love to tell you. But if you knew... She remembered Zaylin's screams and fought back a shudder. It would end up worse for you. Worse for everyone. Just like there are certain things I know about you I can't tell other people. There are things about other people I can't tell you. This isn't about holding you back. I need to keep the people around me safe, and if that means getting you to cut down on the heroics, so be it. So it's okay for you to do stupid heroic things that put you in danger and get your arm ripped off, but not me? I'm too special? Yes, Vaine snapped. Tears, Rakva. That's exactly what it is. You are the crown heir. If you really want to help, keep your mouth shut and stay where you're supposed to. And stay where those who are supposed to help you can keep an eye on you. I already have enough to worry about with the queen out to get... She cut herself off. Rakva would out himself as the traitor if he knew how bad it was. I need you to stay safe, Rakva. Please. Rakva rubbed his mantle between his fingers. If I ask why my mother suddenly hates you so much, will you be able to answer? Vaine sighed and pinched the bridge of her nose. You're not the only one I got in a fight with recently. What? Rakva's eyes grew wide with panic. No. You didn't. You didn't. I did. And before you say anything, I know it was stupid. I just got desperate. I couldn't stand the idea of you setting foot in Wokmaw. But I think she saw it as questioning her judgment, and... I'll stop sneaking out, Rakva blurted. I promise. Vaine blinked. Okay. He seemed sincere. Vaine let herself relax, just for a moment, and closed her eyes. You said you had somewhere you needed to be, she said. Do you need me to accompany you? Rakva shrugged. I guess. I was going to, the archives? Yeah, the archives. To research the new place Father wants to conquer. He's already picked somewhere new? Vaine's eyebrows shot up. Yeah, well, Wokmaw continues to be a disaster and said he wants a place he can go on vacation. Rakva expanded his bioband and showed her a picture of a planet with large green continents surrounded by oceans. Apparently, the natives call it dirt or something. Vaine squinted at the picture. Dirt? It's mostly water. And salt water, too. But they don't even live in it. They're like mole people or something. I think they've only had FTL for a century or so. We should only have to do recon a few years before we invade. Rakva looked up at her. I think it would be a nice place to go once all this blows over. We'll have to rename it, though, Vaine said. Dirt? Seriously? Who names their own planet Dirt? Rakva grinned.
Mole people? See if your father would be willing to push ahead the date for conquest. Vaine said, "This planet is too nice for mole people." "I'll see what I can do," Rakva said, chuckling a little. The weight threatening to crush Vaine into pieces became a little lighter. Maybe, just maybe, things were going to work out for the better. That is the end of chapter 18. Hello, Shilakad. We have been reading a book called Drown the Stars by Quiana Chase. Also, hello, Jay, and hello, Mr. T. Welcome. Thank you guys so much for listening to me read. We have chapter 19 is gonna be next. Let me see what the next... Ooh, chapter 20. Okay. We keep going. I thought Drown the Stars was an eldritch horror book. This Drown the Stars, I don't know about the other one, but this Drown the Stars is a sci-fi alien soap opera drama. It looks like I might need to find something. Okay, oof. I think we are either gonna finish this book tomorrow or Saturday. You had me at Star Wars. I didn't say Star Wars, but you know what? I can't fault you for jumping to that. Okay, so we are on page 293. We have 7 pages until the next chapter, so part of me is thinking I should read this next chapter because it's only 7 pages, because chapter 20 is the last chapter in the book. Guys, it's the end. It's the end. Dun dun dun. I don't have the next book ready. For the next book, let me go to my list. Do you ever post on Spotify? No, actually, Native Beans, you're the first person who's ever asked that. Because I do not own the rights to these books, I don't know if I would be allowed to do that. The book that I'm currently reading, this will be edited and uploaded to my YouTube channel and act as a audiobook, the official audiobook for Drown the Stars. If you like... You were about to look me up on Spotify? Oh my gosh. I've never had anybody say that before. I'm so flattered. Dang, maybe I should, make a podcast. I don't know what the hell I'd talk about on the podcast. But, the book that I'm currently reading is going to be the official audiobook for Drown the Stars.
However, I do also have other stories if you would be interested in listening to my other narrations. I just finished. Actually, no, correct that. We will be posting the final fully edited audiobook of stretchies. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. That 5-hour audiobook will be published to YouTube soon. But if you are the type of person that you like listening to things in parts, for The Wizard of Oz, we cut that one up into parts. I'm really curious. Do you prefer the shorter videos that are about 20 to 30 minutes? Or do you prefer audiobooks that are, like Wizard of Oz, 5 hours in one video? I know I've asked this before, but I would like to check your preferences again. What do you guys think? Let me see if I can pull up my Notion, because I have a chart of books that I am interested in reading. And some of them are on Project Gutenberg. I put it on autoplay, so if it's an audiobook back to back, I don't mind. For me, it's about the type of book. Okay. I have already set up the playlist, so even though the videos are cut up into 20 to 30 minute segments per chapter, they will just autoplay the whole playlist. Your voice would really relax my hectic day. I would love to help you relax throughout your day. I highly recommend checking out my YouTube channel. I will edit out all of the talking in between the reading, and those are the videos that I post. I do also write my own ASMR roleplay scripts, and I record, and I source, and I edit, and I mix video that all together. So some of my ASMR roleplays are completely made by myself. Those are more recent works. Let me pull up my list of books, because I would also like your opinion on what book are you interested in hearing next. All right. So some of the books that I was interested in: Fish Flop Podcast. Ooh, say that 5 times fast. For me, the 20 to 30 minute, because I feel like I'm watching a movie rather than leaving on a cliffhanger. Hello, high lasting variety. I have so many book recommendations. Oh, Native Beans. I don't know if you use Discord. I have a channel in the Discord server to help keep track of suggestions and stuff. So if you are interested in joining the server, you get to choose your notifications. I promise I won't bother you. Or you joined yesterday. PogChamp. I do ask just so that it's easier for me to keep track of, like, who's who. You can change your nickname in Discord so that I can recognize you. But there's a suggestions channel. So you can put literally all of your book recommendations in there. You can't join. I'm not sure why you can't join. It might be, would you read H.P. Lovecraft? I actually have one video on YouTube right now of H.P. Lovecraft reading The Cats of Ulthar. I haven't made my way back around. Your name is the same? Okay. Cool. Cool beans. Huh, get it? Cause beans? Huh. Jap, I'm not sure why you're not able to join. I know that we've talked about this on stream before. I know that with this Discord server requires age verification. Link the Discord. You should be able to !Discord. I can't do it because I'm using an accessibility keyboard. Thank you. You got it faster than I did. So the Discord server does require 18 plus. They require individuals to be 18 plus. I don't require that on my live streams. Oh, how did that? Huh? I didn't know that. I didn't know that did that. Nobody saw that. I don't require my streams to be 18 plus, but I do require the Discord server to be 18 plus for the safety and security and, you know, the protection of children from adults. It says invalid, but I do promise you, I do assure you that I have checked that the link works, and the link does work. I don't know if it's a UK thing. The UK is very strict about their privacy stuff. If you're using an Apple device, that could also mess with it. Have you been able to find anything on Google or like on Discord support? Because I really have no idea why. Do you have, I can look through the logs and stuff. Do you, is your Discord username the same as your Twitch username, Jap? I had to join through the search thingy on Discord. Oh, did the link not work? Yeah, it is. Okay. I can try to look into it. I'm just not sure why there would be problems. Okay. I tested the link and it brought me to the invite. UK IP require verification on Discord side. Hi, Tamaki. Hi, Achu. So as I suspected, it has to be something with the verification. It's just kind of like an unfortunate thing that privacy is the way that it is. Why do companies want so much from us? I dislike how the way that the UK and just Europe is treating privacy and being very strict about it. To me, that is good. I would rather that be the issue, is that, wow, we're respecting people's privacy too much. That would be nice. But no. Welcome, thank you so much for subscribing on YouTube. Thank you. I didn't check to see that the YouTube stream was working. I mean, I know that the YouTube stream was working because that one was over there, but okay. Ooh, my tummy. Interesting. Do you guys think that I should go get, like, I don't know, Wendy's? Pizza Hut? Food. Okay, it is unfortunately time for me to escape. I am going to escape and go to sleep. Oh, well, I was gonna rate this person, but I can't. Okay. There's this. Oh, I was trying to see if do I have anybody that I'm following who is available for a raid? Bill, thank you so much for the 100 bits. Looking forward to the next story. I hope to talk to you soon. I look forward to it. The problem is invasion of privacy on UK part. Jap! Oh my god! Oh my god, Jap! Jap! Thank you. Thank you so much for the 3,000 biddies. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you so much. Don't forget Mother's Day is Sunday. Yes. On Sunday, you thank your mothers for existing or making you exist. Something like that. Have a good night, King. I might be locked out of Discord, but I can still get involved. And it is inconvenient, the Discord situation, but I do try to stay active on the other social media platforms as well. Even though I'm only here on stream 3 days a week, and sometimes less than that, depending on how I'm feeling, I'm glad that today I felt okay enough to stream. Oh my god! A Jap! A Jap! What? Oh my god! Hi, Shadow Slayer. Jab! Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the level 5 hype train. Oh my god. Also, Jap, I have a bone to pick with you because there was one of the streams that I got online the next day and and I see Jap has gifted 10 subs when I was offline. Jap! Thank you. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. You're so sweet. Hi, Lori. Hi, City. New model? Yes, it's the customizable model. I still have some retexturing to do, but I'll get there. Thank you again, Zap. I don't know when the last time I saw a level 5 hype train was. It's been a while. Let's see. There's gonna be someone that I know that they haven't been live for too long. Oh, but I don't see anybody doing like something cozy ASMR, you know? Let's see. Can I bring you somewhere that is calm and relaxing? Let's see. And I'm gonna search calm and relaxing and we'll see what we get. No. There's a surprising amount of people doing, there's a surprising amount of, 24-hour streams, which I find interesting. I can't believe that. I can't believe that. I missed last week's streams because of work, so I've been listening to them in the car. Thank you, Jeb. I'm really happy that I get to be a part of everyone's day. I noticed that there's been so many popping up. Yeah, I did hear from someone that streaming longer hours is being pushed on Twitch, which is why I'm about to hit the 3-hour mark. Normally, I only do 2-hour streams for the sake and the health of my vocal cords, but I also have to play the algorithm game, and honestly, that kind of sucks. But I always want to get more fishies in Sanctuary. I always want to have more cute little fishies that I get to be a part of your day. I can only hope to have you. I can only hope that you join, but I understand that not everybody can be here all the time. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I'm struggling to find somebody to raid that's doing something cozy that I also haven't raided in the past 30 days. I was hoping to find someone new, but I can't. I seriously can't. Everybody that I'm coming across is either doing something like Diablo, Overwatch, or there's a 30-hour stream, a 26-hour stream, 12-hour stream, 13-hour stream. Hype train complete at level 5. Thank you for the 3,100 biddies and the 10 gifted subs. Thank you so much. I knew you were a Lovecraft fan. She's trying to lure you into the sea. Yes, we also use siren singing. I don't know if you've gotten to hear my siren singing, but maybe another time. I have a reverb on my Go XLR, and so all I do is I turn the background music off and I sing. The place for book recommendations would go in suggestions. So, unfortunately, I think that today we won't raid out. We'll just end it here. But I will be back again tomorrow night. So, this is the part where we say our good nights, our goodbyes, and our see you tomorrows. I will be back again tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time Zone. Hi, I'm here. 6 p.m. Eastern Time Zone to continue reading potentially the end of Drown the Stars. Oh, I broke it again. I'll be a good streamer someday, just not today. Something. I'll be back 6 p.m. tomorrow night, reading a book. If you're not in the Discord, please join the Discord. If you aren't already on YouTube, check out my YouTube channel and subscribe while you're there. You get to listen to all kinds of other ASMRs and audiobooks as they get edited and published. If you prefer listening to the live streams, well, I've got great news for you because YouTube live streams do not expire. You can listen to my live streams going all the way back to December 2024. So, until next time, drink your water, eat your food, be kind to yourself and others, and have a great night. Good night.